Well, hello, my wonderful office workplace warriors, and welcome back to another episode of Dear HR Diary by Manage with Hart, the unfiltered truth you wish you learned in management school. I love that tagline. It's just so much fun. And none's the more truer when you get to have really super cool guests on your show. So I am going to have a fabulous guest today. His name is Juan Alvarado, and Juan is a Gallup certified strengths coach and a revered, good grammar today, revered leadership expert, drawing from his extensive experience as a U.S. Army war veteran. Thank you for your service. Who trained thousands of soldiers in high pressure scenarios. Wow, that really actually sounds quite intense. Having being a mom whose son is coming back from being deployed, I can only imagine about high stress in the military. Beyond his military service, Juan travels and speaks to leadership teams and their staff to enhance team leadership and their staff engagement, yielding a heightened staff understanding of their value and the importance of their intentional engagement with each other. Very specific word, intentional. Juan uses his trials fighting through PTSD and shares how he has mended and strengthened his marriage, his relationship with his boys, he has two, and how he now teaches international leadership. Let's try that again. Intentional leadership. Today is like my day to people across the world. His impact work has earned him recognition on Fox, NBC, and CBS for cultivating strength based leaders and fostering a positive workplace culture. See why people say Juan is the most I can't even read this, relatable and motivational person they have ever heard speak. And I am quite honored to have Juan on the show today. Welcome, Juan. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, first of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Always good to have a vet on this show. Is that kind of what prompted you to go into this? Like, was it a little bit like I got into the military and saw an area that needed help?
Yeah, I think somewhat. I think a lot of it, even in growing up in school or with my own parents or with coaches or with the military, um, a lot of really good leadership and then a lot of not so good leadership, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And so how do I help those people that are ahead of me, below me, next to me? And just real quickly, one of my own mentors, his name is Rory Vaden. He says, "You are perfectly positioned to serve the person who you once were."
Oh,
And so I think that's one of the reasons why I got into leadership is because like I'm serving the 8-year-old me, the 12-year-old me, the 21-year-old me. Like so all those times in my life where leadership failed me is like I am that person to make sure that that doesn't happen. So hence why I speak to a lot of teachers and educators or managers or directors. So yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that and utilizing the military experience helps me to speak and have confidence in that.
what an insightful mentor to say that. That's just
Yeah.
really crazy. I'm sitting here thinking about, and that's truly the reason I started my company, Manage with Heart, is like, I didn't want to fail. I failed as a new manager and I don't want new managers to fail. So I do, that manager mechanics. That's like teaching you how to manage people.
Mhm.
I think leadership is also very important to being a manager, but I also think you can be a leader without having that title. So, and then what happens is people promote people that are traditionally good at their job into a manager role, and then they struggle with how to, how do I give a performance review? How do I terminate an employee? So just that mechanics piece of it.
Right.
So it's interesting that you're called to where your heart is. I think that's thank you. I think that's
Okay.
amazing. So you got into strength finders, and we spent some time on our discovery call talking about strength finders. What was it that drew you to strength finders? Did you go to a class? Did you read the book? What was it that started that?
Yeah, so I had taken strengths. I had taken like Myers-Briggs. I've done the disc assessment, and then I got introduced to Strength Finders, and I found Strength Finders to be very specific. Didn't put you in a box. Was very specific. I'll just leave it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Very specific in things, and so I got some growth for myself because it was all on personal development kind of and professional development at the time, and then I got my performance review, and it was doing good, doing well as a manager. Moved up to a director role, started managing more people, and review time came up again, and had out of my 200 staff had basically 199 very good, above average. surveys in that performance, and then I had one that was really bad, and I could not get over the really bad one. Like it was night and day. It wasn't like, all my scores were, nines and tens out of, 1, 0 to 10, and somebody was like gave me a 7. No, it was like a 1 or a 0 in all categories. Like it was definitely night and day. And I was like, what is this person's problem? Like, where did I miss the point? Where did I miss the mark? And so I was so, I don't want to say the word infatuated, but for lack of better words, like just infatuated with this bad review. Like, what the heck? I wanted to know more and go deeper. And so I found that you could be a trainer for Gallup Strengths. And so I wanted to know, like, I know what I can do for my own strengths, but how do I learn other people's strengths? And so I convinced my employer at the time to pay for half of it, and then I would pay for the other half because it's expensive to
Expensive,
become a
yeah.
yeah, to become a trainer. And so did the intensive course and started to get to the bottom of like of things of how do I work with my strengths, but how do I work with other people's strengths? And yeah, from that then on, it was really cool to see how other people tick, how other people work, their strengths, their blind spots, as well as my own. And so that's kind of where it all took off was one bad review.
That's crazy. He became obsessed. He was like, well,
Yeah.
I want to know. It's interesting what I liked about Strength Finders because very similar story. I actually went through the course. I never became a certified trainer, but I am certified in a couple of Myers-Briggs and DISC, but never went down the Gallup path. But what I really liked about the Clifton Strength Finders is the fact that it really focuses on strengths, right? We spend a lot of time kind of dissecting what it is that we do bad or how can we improve it. And that's a lot of performance reviews are like, you did this particularly well, but you need to fix this. And I really like how Strength Finders is like, these are your strengths. This is what you should be bringing to work each and every day. And I always thought that was really kind of fascinating to me.
Right.
Was there, when you was there anything that stood out to you that you were surprised when you found out what your strengths were?
Yeah, competition is not a strength of mine, even though I'm like, no, I'm very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw was there's what it ended up being was a couple strengths that combined together look like competitors. So like self-assurance was one, and I'm trying to think of what the other one was. Self-assurance and I can't think of the other one, but together I think it was like my number like 12 strength with like my number like 4 or 5 strength was meshing together or responsibility. So those two strengths together looks like competition a little bit or
Oh,
feels like competition. So like I want to do well for my team and I feel like there's a responsibility on my shoulder. So I want to do well for the sake of the team, not so I can win the game, but I want to be, I want to do the walk-off home run, not for me, but for the sake of others. So it looks like com competition, so I was shocked to see that competition was that low. And then the other one was that I have empathy like 8 or 9 on my strengths. And I knew it was there somewhere, but all those other strengths seemed to show. Like I knew I was empathetic, but I had to like really dig deep and kind of turn that what we call like volume, right? Turn
yeah.
the empathy volume knob up to 9 or 10 and tone down some of the other ones. So those were a little bit of a shock, a little bit. I mean, if you want to call it that, but something that I had to really tune into.
I like that. That's interesting. My top one is woo, which made me
Hmm.
laugh because like
Hmm.
it's that salesperson kind of
Hmm.
woo, like I can convince people to do stuff. And I always thought, doesn't that make me like persuasive or that kind of stuff? And you think salespeople and you're kind of like, oh, like slimy, like used car salespeople.
Hmm.
No offense to my salespeople that listen to this. Um, but I also kind of laugh because it's like if I look at the others, and Clifton, the String Hunters does a really great job kind of blending it, like you just said. So it takes some of those things that while you think it's competition, it really is something a little bit different. And mine's the same way. So mine's woo and positivity.
Hmm.
Um, and so and empathy are like my top three, which is great as an HR professional, right? You want an HR professional that's empathetic. probably want someone that's positive. And then the woo part always makes me laugh because I tell people I work in sales, and my husband's like, "You don't work in sales." I'm like, "What do you think HR is?" I
Yeah.
sell every day. I have to
Yeah.
sell people on our benefit plan. I have to tell people that they have to like their manager or their coworker. So that's the way I kind of look at woo when I'm looking at those string finders things. Is like,
Yeah.
wow.
So woo stands for WOO stands for winning others over. So the people,
Uh-huh.
the listeners that are listening to this is usually what we tell people is woo is kind of like getting on a. You could tell who these people are. Pretend you're getting on an elevator. Woo people will talk to the people in the elevator. Hey, what floor? How are you doing? What are you doing here? How long are you here for? Right, totally conversation. Hey, can you hit level 3? Oh, I'm on level 4. Right, where those of us who don't have woo are like, you can push your own damn button. I'm
So
not
true.
talking to you. I don't know you. I'm not going to start a conversation with you. So woo is an influential, an influencing
Mm-hmm.
theme. And then your positivity and your empathy is going to be a relationship driven theme.
Yeah.
So more relationship driven, but it's good to have, from somebody that's HR to have an influencing theme as their number one and then a relationship building theme as the other ones to really kind of hone in like, hey, I'm here for you. I can have a really good flowing conversation with you. I'm not afraid to ask questions or just get into dialogue. But I can also be empathetic as well. So yeah, really good strengths for somebody in HR for sure.
I'm trying to remember what my other one is. I know I have one that really surprised me was adaptability.
Mhm.
When I did string finders, I don't know, I'd probably say 15 years ago. And then I did it again a couple of years ago. Adaptability wasn't even my top 10. And now it's like in my top five. So I almost think just the way that life has gone change everything that's happened in the HR industry, things that have happened in my own personal life where I've had to be adaptable. It's been interesting that now it's moved up my list of strengths. Have you ever seen something like that happen for other people, maybe even yourself?
Not really. So what I will say is they tell you not to take strengths a second time.
Mm,
They tell you because you can start to manipulate stuff, right? Now that I know the
I
questions
like
that it
that.
asks, let me start to kind of click the questions on who I want to become or what I want instead of because a lot of people don't know this, but behind the scenes of the test, you actually get scored on how quickly you answer, where on the like pendulum do you answer? Because it's like
Hmm.
the example that I give to people, if you never heard of the test before, it gives you a question or a statement like, and this is for an example, when I walk into a room, and then all the way to the left might be immediately look for people that I know and hang out with them, or all the way to the right is talk to somebody new because I like meeting new people, and then the
Yeah.
middle is neutral, right? But there's also a point in between those. So it's either all the way to the left, middle, right to the middle, or all the way to the right. So depending on where you put that and your answer and how fast you answer has equates like an equation in there to see where your strength is. So when you start to take time and you start to think, it starts to manipulate your answers a little bit.
Oh.
So what we see is that there's a 10% jump um, in any strength. Like if you take it over, excuse me, 1% jump when you take the test again. So you might, unless you have strengths that are really close, like let's say there's a score, you won't see the score. It's behind the scenes, so you won't see it. So let's say you get, relator is your number 5 and you score at 98.777% of that. But your next one is competition, let's say, or in your case, adaptability, and you scored 97.76% on it, and that's your number 6. You take it again 4 or 5 years later, you score 0.0012 more than before, then your 4 and 5 or
Ah,
your 6 and 5 will flip.
okay.
So you might see 3 become 2, 6 become 5, something like that, but
Yeah.
you will hardly ever see something that, like you
That's
said, something
crazy.
that's not even in your top 10 jump
No,
to
it
your top
wasn't.
5.
Yeah.
That's almost unheard of
Huh.
to do. So then you start to think, okay, what was happening? Why did you
Yeah.
answer these questions?
Yeah.
Because I've seen people's top 5 change of maybe 1 become 2, 3 become 1, 4 become 3, vice versa, and then 5 drop to 6, 6 come to 5, and now they have 1 different in their top 5, but all 1 through 4 just swap
Yeah.
spots. but you'll hardly, I shouldn't say never because I don't want to use absolutes. And in your
Yeah,
case, it
it was
happened.
weird. Yeah.
But
In
you'll
fact, my
hardly
trainer
ever see,
actually said the same
yeah,
thing. My trainer was like,
it
"Yeah,
won't,
it's
it
really
shouldn't
unique."
jump that much. So then you start to think, okay, well, when did you take your test? So when we have people take the test, we say, make sure that you have ample time to take the test, that you're not rushed. Like, hey, I have 30 minutes. I could probably rush through this. No,
Yeah.
make sure that your time is clear. Also, make sure that you're not in any type of mood. So, you're pissed off with your spouse. Forget it. I'm going to my room. Leave me alone. Hey, now that I have some time, let me, take this test. No, you were just in a pretty, maybe traumatic conversation or a crazy conversation. Your answers aren't going to be legit. So, make sure that you have the right amount of time. Make sure you're in a clear headspace, that you're at like this neutral kind of spot in the way you feel or whatever, and then take it with plenty of time. Usually you find you get better results that way.
That's I love that. Yeah. I would, if I were to look back on what was going on 15, 16, however long ago I took it, I know it's been a long time ago. There was a lot of change going on in my life.
Mhm.
So,
Makes
but
sense.
my number one has never changed. Like it's always
Yeah.
been woo.
And
Hasn't
usually it
changed at
won't.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Makes
when I got
sense.
it, I was like, okay, well, that's not surprising. You talked a little bit about kind of the quadrants, right? So if there are certain strengths that fall into certain quadrants, what are those quadrants? Like, what are you
Yeah.
referencing?
Yeah, so there's influencing theme, there is a relationship building theme, there is a strategic thinking theme, and then there's an executing theme. So how people execute, how people influence, how people build relationships, and then how people think. So I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but you have like analytical or strategic thinking. So my number one strength is the strategic thinking or strategic, which is a strategic thinking strength. And then my number two, I believe, is responsibility, which is an executing theme. And then relator, which is a relationship building theme. And then achiever and activator. Achiever, I believe, is executing theme, and then activator is an influencing theme. So I have basically a couple of them that are two, but one of each group. So I'm pretty kind of spread out. But it's funny because what I did in the military was I did a lot of strategic thinking. I did a lot of intelligence in the army. So I start to look at my strengths and go, oh, that makes sense. Like you're planning, missions, and you're talking about movement and when do we go? How do we go? Where do we go? How does the enemy work? How do we work? And it's a big chess game. And so you're like, oh, I get why strategic is, number one. And then you get into like the workforce, and I'm like, oh, no wonder I was in charge of hiring and firing and training and stuff because it all took strategic thinking. So you start to see how and why you're so good at certain things, and why you need to stay there as far as your strengths. So it definitely helps out for your professional life, but it can also help in your relationships too with your significant other or your kids as well.
Is there something, so you've taken the test. I mean, how do you make it applicable, right? We're talking about now you have these strengths and it's almost kind of now what do I do with this? I know my strength is, these three or four things. Is there a way to look at how to apply it or,
Yeah.
what are next steps from there? Because I know once I took it, I actually had a trainer that I worked with, like you were just talking about, and they said, "Oh, this is great." And they took our team and they kind of blended us together. And we got to see how, Katie did some things and Mark did other things and Dawn did stuff. So that was always interesting. But, if someone were to go either get the book online or do the test online or, even reach out to you for more information, kind of how do you apply it?
Yeah, good question. So I would say a couple different things. Steps 1A and 1B would be when you take the test, you have to create an account, and they have an app. And so on the app or on the website, when you log in, it'll give you like daily reads, stuff like that. So that's, I would say, 1A would be to visit the website or the app regularly to get your reads. But 1B would be to read your strengths, right? Don't just take it, read it, read your strengths, get to know your strengths. And then I would say the very next thing is once you understand your strengths and you read your strengths, get a trainer, right? myself or anybody like that, or read the book or go online and try to find something or someone that you could use. So I have a library of videos that I've created for each strength. What does it look like to have the strength? What does it look like to work with somebody who has a strength? What are the blind spots? What does it look like in a professional setting? What does it look like in a personal setting? And I do that for all 34 strengths. So I would say those are the first steps. Like if you, like with anything, if you want to be intentional, you have to act on it. Well, how do you act on it? Get a trainer, or watch videos on it and then read it. A lot of people will be like, oh, this is cool stuff. I know my strengths and that's it. No, read it. And there's blind spots to it. One of the biggest examples I give is picture somebody who's big and buff. I saw a video the other day, well, not the other day, a while ago, which is why I use this example. He's in the locker room. He's huge, like huge buff guy, right? And his friend gets a post-it note and puts it right in the small of his back, in the middle of his back, and he can't reach it. And he's trying to get it off, and it's basically like a "I'm a stupid" sign, like a or kick me sign,
Like
right?
kick me, yeah.
Yeah, and he can't reach it. It's like, cool, your strength is that you're big and strong, but your blind spot is your lower back or your mid back. You can't even touch your mid back. Um, to get even TMI, I know another guy who is ridiculously big, like buff, and he has trouble using the restroom. Hey, you're big and strong and you're huge and buff, and people are scared when they look at you. Cool strength, but you can't even take care of yourself when you use the restroom.
Yeah,
Like, how do you clean yourself? Well, that's a blind spot, right?
that is
A
the
pretty
blind spot.
big,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Pretty big blind spot, right? Literally and figuratively, like you can't see or you can't even reach, like what the heck? So when it comes to, so sorry folks, TMI, but it just
That's
goes to
okay.
show you, it just goes to show you like, yeah, you could have like your strength, positivity. Newsflash, there's a blind spot to positivity, right? I'm coming to work upset and you're like, hey, just, think about how great the day is. You're alive, you're breathing and stuff. And I'm like, F you, Don.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Can I just be pissed for
Mm-hmm.
once? Like,
Yeah.
why are you with a smile on your face? Like, let me be pissed. You worry about you. Oh, like, and there's people out there like, and we might be cool with each other. And I love you that you come every single day with a smile on your face. But today I'm pissed. Let me be
Yeah.
pissed.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's interesting,
I don't need
it's
you.
so true. Like I'll have people come to me and they'll have, and that's where the empathy comes into play. But you're absolutely right. Like I always want to believe the good in people. And so kind of my blind spot is being positive. I always believe that people are doing the best that they should and could be doing. So it
Mhm.
almost makes me a little bit more, oh my God, people are going to hear this and I'm going to say this, but it makes me a little bit more gullible. Like
Right.
I have
And
had
empathy does
people,
that to people, right?
yes.
Oh, Dawn's gonna believe anything. Just tell her that like your
Yeah.
dog died or whatever, and that you're gonna leave like 30 minutes early from work. Like you can be taken advantage of
Yeah.
because of a strength. And so, and that's with everybody. So it's funny, those strengths, positivity, harmony, and empathy, I was so struck on because of like how could that ever be negative? And then once you start to think, you're like, oh shoot, it could have a blind spot when it does, but every strength has a blind spot. And basically what I tell people is picture two of you, right? You have your strength, but you also, if you're so engulfed in your strength, you get in the way of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get in the way of yourself, you can't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So if I'm always strategic and I'm always thinking about a plan, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to leave at this time, right? We have to leave to go, and I do this, and it sucks at times. We got to leave, on Sunday. We got to go to, we have to leave the house by 8:30 to be at church by 9, right? Because we have to leave 5 minutes earlier than that. So we have to leave at at 8:25 because it's raining and it's foggy and it's Christmas. So now there's going to be all kinds of people that go to church for the first time, or the once a year people that go to church on Sunday during church. And so we need to leave extra early. And they're like, can we just be normal for once? Like, I don't want, you're always rushing us. You're always doing this. You're always thinking too much. Like, stop overthinking, right? I get in my own way sometimes. Bro, it's church. You're gonna find a seat. Like, don't overthink stuff.
Yeah.
So everything has a blind spot. And so once you know the blind spot, then you can start to say, okay, be on the lookout for this. And so now, hence my bio, um, intentional leadership. How do I
Hmm.
be intentional? Knowing that this could be negative, knowing that this also could be positive, how do I navigate moving forward, talking to my spouse, talking to my boss, talking to a coworker, knowing that I have a blind spot? It just makes you that much more powerful as a person to know when and how you are great, but when and how are you kind of stumbling over yourself.
That's so, I mean, this is so valid. I'm sitting here nodding, going, oh my gosh, this is so absolutely
Mhm.
true. And I know my husband took this. I gave this to a team that I led probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I was heading up a team. There were five of us on the team and we took it. It was interesting just to see kind of the assumption I was making about my team, where I thought their strengths were, and what the actual test said, the actual assessment said their strengths were really interesting. I could see where taking that and going, okay, I think that I have, Tim in the wrong place or Carrie doing the wrong thing because that's not what their strengths said. I mean, is
Mhm.
that kind of a possibility as a manager or as a leader that you
Yeah, for
can
sure.
use that
So
information?
yeah, so Gallup will tell you it's not a hiring tool, so that like don't have candidates take
Yeah.
take the assessment and hire off of strengths. They actually have a hiring tool, so it's something completely separate, and you won't even see that on their website. Like you have to ask them like, hey, do you guys have a hiring tool? And they'll actually give you that. But it can help with positioning people when they're already like internal hires. Like you already know, like, hey, it's between these four people. Hey, where are their strengths? Because I want to know where our strengths are as a group. Like, hey, if we look at all of our strengths in our HR department, we all have relationship building and what was your other one? Oh, influencing. But we don't have anybody with strategic thinking on the
Mhm.
team. Maybe we should start looking that whoever out of our candidates, we already know their strengths because we had them take the assessment. Which one has strategic thinking and executing themes that they would add value to our team, especially when you already have that. So that could help. But take for instance something so simple like a Christmas party, right? Since we're in that kind of season, I would have you at the front. As a greeter, I want my woos in front. Why would I
Mhm.
want my woos putting up uh decorations? Because this is what's gonna happen. All the woos are putting up decorations and like, oh my gosh, you know what would have been really cool is if we would have had this color blue, more like a lighter blue, and you're like, shut up, put the stuff up. Stop
So true.
talking, put the decorations up. People are gonna be here in an hour.
So
Who do
true.
I want? I want those people who can execute doing that. I want my woos or my people with relationship building at the front door, the greeters, the welcomers, or whatever, the MCs, if you will. Those people who are strategic thinkers, I'm not going to have them do, I'm going to have them in the planning committee, right? Figuring that stuff out. I'm going to have the executors as setups and tear downs. Like, I'm going to put the right people in the right spot. So then why would I want somebody who's only in executing to be the staff that talks to another staff for a write-up? You need to do one, two, three, and four. You didn't do X, Y, and Z. You need to get this stuff done. You have to execute, execute, execute. Where it's like, nah, I probably want somebody with relationship building
Mhm.
and some executing, maybe some strategic thinking to say, hey, here's some 4 or 5 tips that are going to help you to get from point A to point B. Hey, with I wouldn't use these words, but for the sake of conversation, like, hey, you dropped the ball a little bit last week. That's okay. We're learning. Here's 2 things that'll help you. Here's something else that I want to do personally. I want to keep you accountable. You keep me accountable, so we can do this, this, and this. What do you think? Right. So you have to understand who do I want taking the helm in certain situations, depending on their strengths, would probably help a lot of the communication, miscommunication kind of go away or.
100%. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this all day. I'm like fascinated with Strength Finders because I'm just so passionate about what it does for an organization and
Yeah.
what it does for employees. Well, as we start wrapping up, Juan, what's one little piece of or one little nugget that you'd like to leave with the listeners?
Um, I love to speak on intentionality, right? And intentionality is pretty big. And there was a note that I took that I gave at one of my keynotes not too long ago, and it basically says this. It says, if you forget the language of intentionality, you'll never be on speaking terms with your purpose. And if we
Hmm.
want to live in our purpose, we have to be intentional. And that goes across the board from your time with your family, your significant other, or friends, and time at work. And that goes for being at work, and that goes for, being on or taking vacation or time off. be intentional. Be 100% with your family when you're on breaks, when you're on vacation. Be 100% at work when you're at work. Um, when you're with your family, if you're a manager, HR director, or a director, and you're a spouse or a parent, your children or your spouse don't need you to be manager. They need you to be husband. They need you to be wife. They need you to be friend. They need you to be mom. They need you to be dad. So be intentional.
Love that.
And so one of the keys that I tell people is we might wear different hats, but understand before you walk into any room, boardroom, office room, or bedroom, right, or living room, ask yourself, what hat do I need to wear going into this room? And if it's a manager hat, put the manager hat on. If it's, now it's time to be mom or dad, take the manager hat off and be mom or dad hat. And here's a simple way to remember this to help you. Hat, HAT. How do you handle what you hear? How do you give attention with the right attitude? And how do you transform the temperature? If you can think before going into any room, how do I handle what I'm hearing? How do I give attention with the right attitude? And how do I transform the temperature with the right hat on? You will be the leader in that room.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I love that. And that's a great way to end that. This has been tremendous. I love this. I've had a great time talking to you about this one, and it's easy to see why you're passionate about it and why you are able to be successful, like being intentional. That's
Yeah.
just amazing. But thank you for being on the
Thank
show
you.
today. It's been
Thank you.
amazing. We will leave Juan's contact information in our show notes as a way you want to reach out to him. Maybe you did Strength Finders and you need a coach or you have some questions. I know he would be more than thrilled to talk to you about it. So again, it's been great to have Juan on the show. And to my listeners, until next time, stay fabulous.